We got some big-time news for you Jets fans that we're going to be discussing on today's edition of the Jets Report by Chad Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up, we're going to be discussing the latest Jets roster moves they made before the Week 15 matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Some key names that could make some impact this weekend, so we'll talk about both those guys coming up here in just a second. But this is why you hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep you guys posted on everything around your New York Jets, and we are so close of hitting our next milestone, 11,500 subscribers. So if you guys are new here or aren't subscribed just yet, hit that subscribe button today. Just need 79 more of you guys to hit that sub button. So subscribe to the channel, daily Jets content, daily videos here on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button today, and I promise you, there are 79 people watching today's show that aren't subscribed. So hit that subscribe button today. All right, so it was Jordan Schultz, NFL insider, who had this report on the New York Jets as he says they are signing defensive end Eric Watts from the practice squad to the active 53-man roster. He's actually a former UDFA out of UConn and has been with this organization since 2024 and now gets a chance to finish the year on the active roster. So Watts hasn't been playing a whole lot this year, but back in 2024, he got some good run. Playing in 14 games, had 7 total tackles on the year, had 6 assist tackles, so it turns out to be 13 tackles total. So obviously not a whole lot of production, but is a guy, UDFA out of UConn. Obviously his natural athletic, ability isn't, insane. He wasn't really profiled as a, freak coming out, but he's 6'5", 277 pounds. Like, this guy's just a big old body to have there on that defensive line trying to get after the quarterback. This is actually his second time being elevated this season. The last time was Week 13 versus the Falcons, so he's getting his another chance here on this Jets roster. And I will say, in terms of Eric Watts, feel good for him. Like, that's a pretty cool story from him. I mean, that's an unreal story of going and playing your college football at UConn, a big time basketball school, ends up being a UDFA, and now you got a chance with the New York Jets to be a premium edge rusher this weekend, which is pretty damn cool for Eric Watts. And there's no doubt the Jets need pass rush help. Jermaine Johnson's great. Will McDonald's had certain splashes this season, but still a lot of meat left on the bone for both those guys. So they're going to need somebody to step up this weekend. And, especially, going against, the Jags, like, you're going to need to have, the ability to get home to the quarterback, get Trevor Lawrence off his spot. And, what was concerning from the Jets side of things against the Miami Dolphins, you got no pass rush production this past week. You only had 3 quarterback hits on Tua. Now, obviously, we know Mike McDaniel, Tua, they like to get the ball out quick, get it in the hands of their playmakers, but you didn't feel the Jets pass rush at all. Now, obviously, a huge reason for this was, got down 21-0 very fast in this game. So the Dolphins were just able to, run the football, play a little ball control. But, hey, the Dolphins also, they have one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and the fact that you weren't able to generate consistent pressure is a little bit of a concern. So I don't fault the Jets for, trying anything at this point. Like, hey, Eric Watts, if you can give us some juice, if Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, anybody can give us some juice, that's what they're trying to do. So trying anything at this point, I agree with that. Plus, we're at the point of the Jets season. Like, let's just say Eric Watts, if he ends up popping off, he ends up having a good game, ends up staying on the active roster for the rest of the season, maybe he could be a guy that could be a rotational edge rusher, for the Jets in the future. But I do agree with them just trying anything at this point because that performance from the edge group against the Dolphins was just, pretty poor. A lot of meat left on the bone there. So happy for Eric Watts getting his opportunity this week. Going against the Jags offensive line where it's, about middle of the pack. It's not great. It's not bad. So we should have an advantageous situation here going against Trevor Lawrence and that offense. But if you guys could, show Eric Watts some love down below in the comments section. Give me those 95. Show him some love as he is back on the active roster this week for the New York Jets. So type his jersey number down below in the comments section and show our guy Eric Watts some love. Before we dive into the rest of today's show, I got to give a massive thank you to the DraftKings Sportsbook for sponsoring today's video. The football season is in full swing, and what better time to get in on the action at the DraftKings Sportsbook than right now? DraftKings is the best place to bet touchdowns this season. Who do you have this Sunday? Get in on the action and use my promo code JETSCHAT today. That is promo code JETSCHAT. Football season is the best time of the year. Keep the action rolling with the DraftKings Sportsbook today, and whether you are into live in-game betting, same-game parlays, you have all of the options. Sundays are for football and live bets. DraftKings has the industry-leading live betting market availability, and you guys can get in on the action and sign up using my promo code JETSCHAT. The crown is yours. That is promo code JETSCHAT. Once again, thank you to the DraftKings Sportsbook for sponsoring today's show. Now, let's dive into the rest of today's episode. All right, the next roster move the New York Jets made was actually signing defensive lineman Kingsley Jonathan to the practice squad. Now, TBD if he's going to end up getting elevated to the active roster. I would assume that he would have a chance to, since obviously the Jets' defensive line, and especially at the tackle position, has been pretty poor this year as well. So he should get his opportunity, and he's got a pretty cool story to him. He actually signed with the Jets back in June, but he was waived before the final roster cutdown day in August. But pretty cool story with him. He was actually the first overall pick in 2022 of the CFL Global Draft. So pretty cool story there with Kingsley Johnson. Anytime you're taking an interesting route of your football playing career and then you're somehow back on a practice squad for the Jets. So maybe he has a chance to get elevated. But, this guy, very limited time here in the NFL. He's never, completely blown anybody away. He's been bouncing around. He was with the Bills, was with the Bears, but he was with Buffalo for the past 3 seasons. Only played in 1 game last year, and then 13 the season prior, where, again, he was, even when he was active for those games, he was just a rotational guy. But, there's also no doubt, the Jets need help at the defensive line, and especially the defensive tackle position, because besides Jawan Briggs, after the Quinnen Williams trade, the Jets' defensive line has been really, really poor, and they just need more production out of those guys. So this is a good opportunity if Kingsley does get elevated to the active roster. Maybe you could help him out, play good in the run support, play good at generating some interior pressure on the quarterback, but the Jets need more help at the defensive line. There's no doubt about it because that unit has been very, very poor so far this season. Now, there are some guys that the Jets could bring in, and, this starts off with an edge rusher, Trey Hendrickson. Now, he is out for the remainder of the season, but he could be an interesting free agent option for the New York Jets. I would keep your eyes on him. Maybe the Jets want to maybe get him on a 2-year, $40 million deal. I'll probably assume he's, not going to get that 33 that he originally wanted, or that 34. I could see him signing for maybe about $20 million per year. So keep your eyes out for him. A guy I would absolutely love to bring in, Jalen Phillips. He was traded from the Dolphins to the Eagles midway this season. Now, I would assume since the Eagles gave up a 3rd-round pick for him, they would have full intentions on, bringing him back. But also the Eagles are kind of strapped for cash right now, so he could be a great free agent target for the Jets. And then you also have a guy like Khalil Mack, a veteran in the league. Now, I don't know how much gas Mack has left in the tank, but still, even against that Eagles game on Monday night, Khalil Mack was still popping off the film left and right. So he's still, at least this year, he's showing he still has a lot of juice, and he would be a good veteran to bring in to man that defense at the edge position. But how about bringing in an old friend, John Franklin Myers? He's having a great year for the Denver Broncos. Obviously, I think it helps with the amount of talent that Denver has on that defensive line. He's got a lot of good football players around him. So maybe he could, take what he's learned from Denver, come back to the Jets, have some success there, even though he's kind of hinted at on social media. He doesn't really have too much interest of coming back. But, hey, Jermaine Johnson's going to be pushing for it. He also got a big fella. How about Travis Jones? Big fan of his game. He is a mammoth of a human being. I'm pretty sure he is – just going to double-check on his height and weight right now. I mean, he's a big dude. Yeah, 6'4", 341 pounds. So that could be a guy you just stick in the interior of your defensive line. Ravens always have D tackles with a bunch of big bellies that like to stuff the run, open up free lanes for their linebackers. So I like all these choices. If I had to pick, maybe 2 for the Jets to sign, I'd probably go Jalen Phillips, Travis Jones that could shore up that defensive line unit. But maybe the Jets don't, draft a quarterback, and maybe there's a guy in the draft that they like. Well, how about Ruben Bain Jr.? This guy is an absolute freak, man. You can line him up in the interior. You can line him up on the outside. There was one game, even though Miami ended up losing this game, but it was the SMU game a couple of weeks ago where I was watching this, and I just had my eyes glued on Ruben Bain. This guy's got a super high motor. I like what he's about, and I think motor is something that's huge for defensive linemen because he's got a lot of natural athletic ability, but I like the intensity that he plays with. And then how about a guy from Clemson? This guy was supposed to be a top 5 pick before the season, but now he could be in that 7 to 12 range. So if the Jets maybe win a couple more games down the stretch, they just want to get the best player available. Peter Woods would fit that bill. And then you also got a guy like Keldrick Folk, edge rusher from Auburn. He's got a super high motor as well. Freak athlete, I will say. So that's another good option. This guy's been flying up draft boards, though. Cassius Howell of Texas A&M, edge rusher. Again, all these edge rushers coming out right now, they're all freaks. They're all 6'5", 260, 280, just completely shredded, and he falls in that bill as well. But, hey, he's manning one of the best defenses in college football right now, the best player on one of the better defenses in college football, so he's another option. And how about another Ohio State guy, Katie McDonald? This guy's a freak, too. Defensive tackle, typical nose guy where he can open up lanes for linebackers as well, take on double teams. So there are some good options out there, whether that's free agency or whether that's through the draft. But I fully expect the Jets, like I was saying, whether it's free agency or through the draft, to make defensive line a big priority. Now, I think if you somehow get the number 1 overall pick and you take Mendoza, everything else should go to defense. Where I'm talking secondary, safety, corner, defensive line, defensive edge. Like, they should throw all those assets at that side of the football because the defense needs to be better. That's probably the weakest, side of the ball here for the New York Jets. But we appreciate all of you guys watching. Big offseason ahead, no doubt about it. And if you guys made it to the end of today's show, hit me with those Go Jets down below in the comments section, and we'll get on out of here. As always, Go Jets.